Welcome to Galactic Explorers with your intuitive channelers, myself, Dallas, and the beautiful and ever Daniella. Today we're gonna, we're all gonna get our turn to thick thought. I can't talk today.
Nailed it.
Take two.
We got a lot of voices talking in our head right now, so it's a little hard to think cohesively at the moment.
Right. So if you haven't, we're going to channel today, and we're already open the channel, so I got a lot going on. But today we're going to get the alternative fix. We're going to take you on a joyride through some crazy whatever they want to come through. We're going to pick a bowl topic, and then we're going to see what our friends on the other side got to say.
Yeah, we're doing like channeling Q&A, sort of viewer questions Q&A from the bowl.
Yeah. So you got the bowl. Let's get started. Let's just stop the nonsense. Okay. So, this is a good one. Giving power away. Giving your power away is something that we do, I think, a lot more than we think we do.
Absolutely.
And when you catch it and you know it, you see it, I think that's the part where you want to call yourself, I don't want to say awake, or you're just more aware. You're more aware of your own self. You're aware of the people around you, even the world around you.
You're starting to own your shit and all those.
Yeah. And what we talked about many times of boundaries, you start really defining your boundaries of when you notice of, just agreeing to agree so you don't stir the pot on something that's still giving your power away.
In a lot of ways, yes. It's interesting. That's one that Frank and I have been having a conversation about, and, even with them, the panel is because there's some forms of sort of energy vibration feeling that you can get into where going ahead and letting them think that 2 + 2 = 5 knock themselves out instead of arguing with them about it in those cases.
Yes.
Things like that. But then there are cases where you're saying yes to say yes, definitely out of a sense of lack internally, rather than just letting them continue to be crazy, like becoming from it from a different place. It's like the same reaction, but coming at it from a different place, internally, emotionally, feeling, right? Because the feeling drives the thought. Who's talking? We got a seer and Rahon. So a seer is a entity from the fire collective, which is more of smoke, wind, that kind of part of it. And then Rahon is a relative of the entity Bashar, if any of those are familiar with him. So they're basically both saying the same thing at the same time, which is that. So they're always like emphasizing that there's always 2 sides of the coin for everything.
Yes. Yep.
So even in different instances where in one instance you may be giving your power away, but in the same instance come at from a different perspective is completely different. So being aware of that is even more of that deeper level of almost choosing your battles, but not choosing your battles out of a sense of self-preservation.
Right.
So you don't, stir the pot and make things difficult for yourself. Like, you couldn't care less if you made things difficult for yourself. But why, in that sense, why engage, like when you're coming from a different perspective, it's almost like you're letting them stay asleep, and why try and wake them up because you know it's only going to be a fight, and it's just not really what you're here to worry about.
Right. Of course, you want to choose that where you're not losing yourself on it.
Mm-hmm.
You're not, I understand what you said, that you pick your battles in the sense of, if they're just going to continue because they're just where they're at, that's just where they're at, if that's, you just got to leave them there, and you just go,
okay, sure,
okay, and then change the subject or walk away.
Whatever.
But not to lose your identity of having to agree with them just to agree with them.
Yeah, out of that sense
You
of
never, I don't think, you have to agree with something you don't fully 100% agree with, because then that gives them the power, and you take away a part of yourself that isn't, you're not being true to yourself.
I'm reminded, they're like reminding me, and they're like, hey, remember this? Something that goes along perfect with what you're saying is that, for instance, if you don't necessarily want to agree with them, but you don't, it's like, you don't want to agree, you don't want to disagree, you want to hold your boundary. It's like you want to more softly hold your boundary rather than like completely coming out and having an argument with them.
Right.
Is the phrase, you could be right. So it's like where they say something, they're talking about politics, they're talking about the neighbors, they're talking about ex-boyfriends, whatever. And you're just like holding your boundary where it's like, this is not a conversation that I'm having or engaging in or do whatever. You're like, yeah, well, you could be right. And then, like you said, move on to either go head out and get yourself another beer, or go, take another topic or something. But the you could be right is going to be fun to play with, because it will either pacify them. They will, they'll think it's like, yeah, I could be right. Yeah, I'm fucking right. Or it'll reveal another side of that where it's like they're trying to control you through their interactions with you and having you align your ideas with them, and them drawing power from you doing that. So it's a good way to find an energy leak, as they say.
Sure. Well, if they continue on, right,
where
after
you're
you
really
said
giving
that
your power away.
statement, and if they continue on with that, then that's where you can draw your line and go, we can move on from this subject, or I'm not gonna engage it anymore.
Yeah, but you can really tell by the other person's reaction to you could be right as to where they are,
right,
and whether or not you just need to, it's like, do your thing and let them do their thing and yada yada yada, or if you really need to start thinking about maybe burning bridges because this person is trying to control you.
Yep, they're toxic.
That's a good way to put it.
And that can be relative, and I think that's hard for people, especially with your relatives or family, of because they're your family, you feel you have to agree, or to keep the calmness of it,
or to even like keep interacting with them, out of some sense of obligation because they raised you, or what, it's like that you have to take care of them, or
right. But then the sense you're giving your power away, you're letting yourself just be in that state of uncomfortableness, of worry or stress or anxiety, and then you're putting on yourself of this. It's a dread, like it's a just because they're your family, you don't have to always agree.
Right.
or your best friend, or even your spouse, or
Right.
your children, or you sometimes even with yourself.
Yep.
You have to really like be honest with yourself, and being honest with yourself, you have to be honest with others. And that hurts sometimes, and some people aren't ready for that, or they're not accepted of that. But that's not up for you to be in judgment or to be in the state of worry of that. It's you're kind of just going to hold on to your flag high and go.
Yep. Rahul's saying it's a big part of realizing that ultimately, if you actually really realize that they themselves as a soul entity idea is not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
They exist. The physical vehicle may, finally break down and not work anymore, but what was driving it ultimately never going to die. So if you realize that that person is not in peril, it is much easier to hold your boundaries even when they get aggressive with you, and to maybe even cut off some of those interactions with people until maybe they are able to see your reflection from afar and use it to change their own ideas. Because at that point, especially if they react in any sort of aggressive, passive aggressive manner to that you could be right, to you holding your boundary, that shows you that they're just going to continue to try and push that boundary.
Mm-hmm.
So it may be that indication where you may not need to actually hang around them so much anymore,
Sure.
if at all,
Yep.
right? Which is like what you're talking about, to extricate yourself.
Yeah. And I think that's a sense of a reflection as well of where you're at and where.
Yeah, your reaction to it, your reaction to their reaction then is a reflection of where you're at, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And can even allow you to look deeper into where you want to be
Mm-hmm.
or how you don't want to participate. I think
Right.
the election is a great mirror of how you react, right? So many people reacted to so many things over the period of time. And it
Every
was like,
election that happens, like you watch it happen from side to side, regardless of whether it was this one, the last one, the other one, a couple years ago, a couple 10 years ago.
it's, yeah, it's just how do you
Huh?
react and what you give your power into,
Yep.
what you can, get involved in. So if you're watching the news and the media all the time and you're sucked into that, right? And then you're sucked into the fear of things or the worries or stresses of
Mm-hmm.
others. And then you talk to people and you agree to like not stir the pot or to fight back because you have such a strong opinion. It's giving your power away on those is like, what is your real alignment with it? Like, are you really wanting to prove a point?
Yeah.
Or are you afraid of other people's points? Like, but where's your alignment with it?
Right. And
Where's
again,
your
that's
own
that's
alignment?
that's exactly what they were talking about in the beginning. Is it's all about your perspective and where you're coming from at it, because everything, every reaction, every interaction can have a quote unquote positive or negative
Mm-hmm.
quality to it. It just depends on your perspective of it and how you, with your differing perspective, potentially react to it. So it's being aware of the self in the moment, catching the reaction, and seeing where you are,
Mm-hmm.
using that as a reflection and going, oh, okay, is this something like, is how I'm reacting a way that I want to continue forward? Like, how do I feel? Like, do I feel like I'm giving my power away? Do I feel disempowered when I speak to these people because I feel like I'm forced to or obligated to give these reactions in their presence? Or they blow, like, or they have a reaction?
Mm-hmm.
It gives you a time to reflect when you hold those boundaries. And then sometimes you got to hold on tight.
Yep.
And it just applies across the board, though. So
Of
it could
course.
be interpersonally with family, and about any topic too. Like you said, politics, it could be about religion, it could be about any and all of these things. Or you could just decide to go, well, they can go ahead and float that boat. I'm going to go over here and steer mine.
Yep.
They want to go ahead and think 2 + 2 = 5. They can knock themselves out. What is it? Not my farm, not my pig, not my monkeys, not my circus.
That's exactly. You
That's
have
what they're
where
talking
you
about.
put
They're
your
like,
energy at.
look. They're like, look. Don't even bother with it. If you can get to yourself to the point where you don't even bother with it, even when you have to be in those people's presence, because sometimes, yeah, it is family, and it's like like you can't, for whatever reason, whatever belief systems or whatever, can't or won't get away from, interacting with them. So if you can or won't, find another way to play the game. To keep yourself in that higher vibration to where it's like, not a big deal. Okay, 2 + 2 = 5. Fuck yeah, knock yourselves out. Totally could be. It totally could be 5. You know what? I never thought of that. What do you care?
Right.
Their world is not your world, and their
No.
world, they are not going anywhere. You're not in danger. They're not in danger. Nobody's really in danger. This is a video game. Knock yourselves out. Stop taking everything so seriously and having to defend your points too.
Yes.
That's the part, like having to defend your points is giving your power away.
Yep.
That's like it's a much deeper form because there's layers to this.
Oh, yes. I think that's one that I've recently have found myself falling in a pattern of having to explain myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's and through work or my husband or my kids of like, I'm not doing enough. And I go, wait, I am
justify.
doing. Why do I have to justify or prove? Oh, did you see what I did today? I did this and this and this. Okay, so I did things today, right?
Right. So I have worth. I have value. Like
right?
yeah.
And it's like, my employer would be like, yeah, okay, or my husband's like, why do you explain yourself? It's like, I don't know. Why am I explaining myself? Like, I feel like I have to do that, but then I'm like, I don't have to do that.
Yeah,
I don't have to
coming up against an old pattern, like belief pattern that got passed down. I went through that a month ago. I literally heard some shit that came out of my mom's mouth.
Yeah.
It made me think about my life and went, oh my God. The whole time. None of this was me. It was a learned behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever she learned it from, to do it from, for
Right.
whatever reason. But it's that same thing where having it's like a bunch of different, one at a time, you guys. Goddamn. We're still working on that, the whole one at a time thing. But it's like you were talking about, it's like boundaries with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Where that comes into it.
Right. You don't have to justify for yourself, I think, either, right? You don't have
Right.
to.
It's like a worthiness boundary. It's like, how much do you think you're worth? Because everybody thinks of boundaries, again, as like walls and stuff that we put up to protect ourselves against other people and their shit or whatever. But a boundary in and of itself, in a sense, is simply we'll call it line in the sand as to what you will and will not put up with as part of your experience.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes for yourself, and that goes for the people around you, that goes for the environment that you live in, that goes for the things that you talk about, the things that you think about, the things that you feel, everything. How you dress, like how you present yourself to the world, like it literally permeates every single aspect of physical being. Is that underlying premise of that line in the sand of what you will and will not put up with. And even from yourself. So what are you worth? Where is your line in the sand? And it's not necessarily even always monetary, what you're worth. Do you have to justify your existence? And it's working through that process, that deep layer of worthiness, like even more so than most people think that it goes down to. But it's all about that line in the sand. You find a new place where that line in the sand is like way the fuck over here, and you were looking at like, wait a minute, what the fuck? Where this line needs to be over here. My line in the sand needs to be such.
Yep.
That's what they want to say. That whole topic, we were planning potentially on doing multiple topics, but they had a lot to say on that one.
Yep. I'm off.
Yeah. Who'd you have talking? Because mine was mostly Rahom and Asir on that one.
Well, there was a few that showed up, but only Mother Mary was this just her. And the only thing she really said, and I kind of wrote down, she says, to give power away is giving your whole identity away. I mean, if you think about her and what she had, I'm not going to go biblical here, but the biblical sense of Mary, of the mother of Jesus, she's carrying Jesus. I mean, think of, she's a virgin with a child. Think of, I think of those times of her trying to, she wasn't trying to be anything. She was just doing whatever was coming through. And the judgment, she had to hold her ground.
No doubt.
That's all. That's it. I think that's it. Really, it's just holding your ground. It's holding your boundaries, your line, making sure you have that defineness.
Yeah, define and continue to redefine your line.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. It's always a work in progress. It's never like, oh, that's that, I can walk away from it. No, because you have to come back to it. Like you said, it was over there, but you've probably moved and adjusted and shifted where you,
now it needs to be.
I got to realign that.
Absolutely.
It's always a work in progress.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I can totally see where she's coming from with that, where it's like to not have, or to give your power away is to give parts of your identity away, because it, in a sense, is, you're not holding true to the personality that you want to craft and be in this experience. So by not holding to that line in the sand and holding true to yourself, it is almost like you're giving away parts of yourself for those other people to have control over, dominion over.
Right. To find a comfort level, which, I mean, come on, we've got to all just say comfort's out the fucking door. To really, if you want to do the work you want to do, or practice with entities and anything like that, it's hard work. And sometimes it can get real and, uncomfortable, because you're looking at your shadow work. And if you're not willing to look at those really hard parts and to have your line in the sand,
to hold true to yourself.
Hold true to yourself and not give parts away to you just to ease, then you really got to look at that, because it's hard, man. And that's okay to be hard. I think we think it's hard. Like, it's okay to be hard. It's okay, because this is not, being human is not supposed to be easy. Our experiences are supposed to get us through.
Yeah, it's like emotionally we're supposed to completely evolve.
Yeah. And evolving is not easy work. Like a scientist, right? They're doing stuff, they're doing hard work, but there's a reward at the end. There's a discovery, there's an evolution, there's new findings.
Yeah. So this is basically, finding, constantly defining and redefining where you hold your truth, where you hold that line in the sand, where you hold those boundaries.
Yeah.
And thereby define and redefine what you're worth, and therefore what it's worth for you to put your energy into as a focus. So if people want to say the sky's green, cool.
Right. Allow them
They
to have
they want to say, you know, it's like all kinds of the crazy things that they say based off of what they see on TV. You guys knock yourself right out. That's the world you want to live in? Fuck. You go, guys. You guys go knock yourselves right the fuck out. Enjoy. I'm gonna be over here though.
Yep.
And it's hard sometimes to say I'm gonna be over here though. Truly. And that's one of those times where it's like hard to hold those emotional or craft and stay true to those emotional, mental boundaries, lines in the sand. How do I want to say? It's like redefining what you're worth in your own eyes. Like, is it worth it to you to have to fight with this person just for their own, just to keep them comfortable?
Right. Yeah.
Or can you just bow out and be like, yeah, totally. Your world, not my world. You go ahead and think whatever you want to think, because it literally has no bearing. What I think and feel has bearing. So don't have to give it that energy.
Well said.
So I think there we are.
There we are. There we're at.
There we're at. It was a good channeling. They're still talking. They're still jabbering on, like, and you and I will jabber on after this. But
I'm sure.
yeah.
Mine are pretty quiet. Mary's just kind of like.
I was gonna say, yours fired off like headstrong in this one. I was like, so awesome to see. That's like yours were just coming through. And they were just like, yeah, we got something to say. We're gonna say it.
We did it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you for all of you for being here and watching, and subscribe, share, put some comments down. You have questions, you have any ideas and topics for the future. We want to hear from you.
Yes.
We love doing this and we want to expand more. So thank you for watching. Check us out on Anchor, Spotify, Facebook, YouTube. Thank you. Like, check us out, visit us, share us with your friends and family. Maybe they can learn a thing or two. Just kidding. We all can.
That was a burn.
Anyways,
apply cold water to that burn. Gosh dang. And on that note,
thanks for everything, y'all. Until next time. Bye.